There we go. Let's get Facebook in here, rocking and rolling. Spinning wheels. There we go. All right. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is Monday morning, the 11th. And Eric, we have Broncos football, real life Broncos football to talk about today. I am Nick Kendell, joined by Erick Trickel. Eric, it's good to be back and watching new football. I know that it's like an appetizer, right? It doesn't always leave me the most fulfilled. Like I'm not feeling completely satiated having watched the preseason football, but I got a taste and I'm ready for the next course here. Maybe we'll get a few more apps in here. Just off topic, what's your go-to appetizer?
Ooh, probably mozzarella sticks.
Okay, cool.
Right.
We're good. I also love myself. My dad always orders onion rings for
Mhm.
the table, so always a big fan of onion rings. And just for my Midwestern side to come out here, it's not just the mozzarella sticks, cheese curds as well. So shout out to the Midwest and Wisconsin for beer and cheese. God bless. What a place. What a place. But Eric, yeah, it's great to see you. I hope you had a good weekend. And how are we feeling with this Broncos scoreboard domination of the 49ers?
Yeah, the for me preseason the score I couldn't care less about it. It's all about the evaluation of the players for me. Seeing how they do, trying to put pieces together to see how the roster is going to look out for the regular season when the score actually matters. And it was a very interesting game. Obviously, we're going to dig into what the starters did a little bit more, and then what the depth looked like. I've seen some people trying to push for a quarterback controversy
Oh my
in
God.
Denver, which is hilarious to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited that football's back. As you said, it's kind of like that first appetizer, and we have a couple more coming, and then we get to the actual meal that we're looking forward to um, over the course of 17 weeks. But I'm excited for it, and yeah, I'm glad it's back. I'm glad that we finally got to watch real football, even though I didn't get to watch the full game Saturday night. I did have to watch a little bit afterwards, and then I watched it over again that night, and then Sunday morning, I did my usual 3 or 4 times over the game to get my post game stuff over it. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Of
Yeah.
course.
Appreciate everyone coming in here. Make sure you click the thumbs up on the way in, like, subscribe, share if you haven't already. Also, yesterday I did a hike, so I didn't watch the game until Sunday evening because I was at the Ichiro jersey retirement game where I was sitting like 8 rows back. Had a few too many adult beverages. Shout out to my friends for But then I woke up the next morning and did a hike, and I ran into somebody on the trail that recognized me. So he watches every show. So shout out to Gabe. Sad we're just crossing paths now that I'm about to leave Seattle here in the next like 5 weeks. But beautiful hike yesterday. I carried the kid up. He is 31 pounds, 98th percentile. Maybe we have our future left tackle there. We can only hope. He's also pretty tall and long torsoed like myself. But yeah, beautiful hike. Just climbed up to Mount Baker. There's reflecting in a beautiful turn. Looks fake. That looks like a David Ross painting. That's real. Yeah, really good. Not shown in this picture is the kid being very upset that I just put him back in his carrier. So he likes to be out of it, and there's a little bit of an upset time when it's time to go back in. But beautiful time, and I did want to say hello. Shout out to Gabe, who stopped me on the trail. Is like, Nick Kendell, I watch all your shows. Like, what? I feel like that happens to Carl all the time. That's only ever happened to me once before, and it was at like a Broncos pregame for the Broncos Seahawks game last year, which that makes sense in
Yeah.
context. I guess it makes sense in context to see me in the mountains in the Pacific Northwest too. But appreciate it, everyone. And yeah, I did want to give Gabe a shout out. Kind of a real tickle yesterday running into somebody and stopping me on the trail. So appreciate that. And you actually got to see what my kid looks like.
I gotta say, it's always a weird thing. I've had it happen a couple times of somebody recognizing us for what we do. Um, Funniest thing is that my wife's boss is a big fan of the show.
Oh,
So that leads to some. That's always pretty interesting. Whenever I'm in the store and he sees me, he always stops by and talks to me. So it's interesting. I've had a couple people stop by. I know there was one year where I was headed down to Denver for the meet and greet, and I'm sitting in the Seattle airport, and somebody stopped up and says, "You're Erick Trickel, right?" Uh, yeah, I'm not good with people, so I was definitely very awkward. But it's always interesting, and it's surreal, I guess would be the best way to put it.
It's a trip for sure. So again, Gabe, it was nice to see you. I don't know if you stayed in the fire lookout last night, but hopefully it was a good time and good weather for you. It was hot yesterday climbing up, but the kid loved it. So he's a big boy. That is quite the pack that I'm carrying up. But yeah, no, it's a good time. Also, good time. Coach Chris joining us as a member. I had never seen it flash green before here, and whoa, caught my eye. See that logo on there. So shout out to Coach Chris. Been one of our members in our hearts for a number of years here in the morning show community. We appreciate you so much. Let's say a little bit in the chat. What do you think about the Broncos lackluster, I guess, first team start? Talk about not feeling completely satisfied, but overall, I mean, I feel like we walked away as good as you could probably hope. David Youngkin, good to see you. David's name changed. I'm not sure what's going on here with the 9891 here, but he says morning. And to the question, no. Should the Broncos Country be worried about that? Starting offensive line, both should be mad at themselves for looking like a junior varsity team. Yeah, we'll get into that. Good to see Shiloh as well. He's down in New Mexico right now. I see him on Instagram getting out there and doing some hikes. So good to see that. It's man, getting outside's the best. So appreciate you, Shiloh, and hope you're having a good time out there. We got Proud Zennial coming in. Says morning, everyone from Gilbert, Arizona. The face of the sun. Oh my God, no, thank you. I don't do so well in the heat, so I'm soft these days. Give me the cloud and wet all day. Spoon comes in and says preseason week 2 a much better indicator than week 1, but even still, I mean it's more important than the practice. But you know, every single year preseason can be very false. I think it was the Hackett year. The Broncos might have gone undefeated in preseason. I don't recall. But see, they don't matter. But staying healthy, that's what matters. Conga says the Broncos starters look inspired. We got Dave Glassman in the house, one of our members. Good to see you. MBLE Test Prep, also a member, here to party. Jake's in the house. Says good morning, Broncos Country. Glad we identified some things to work on. Going to be a fun season. And to this point, you know who I don't think is probably having the most fun right now? Those in the Broncos organization, because after the game was over, Sean Payton seemed a little bit irked, and I really appreciated his comments that he has 14 things he's ticked off about, and none of them even have to do with anything on the football field. So the mentality in the locker room, just how things are staged and prepped, he is no doubt about it a football dictator in Broncos Country. He wants things done his way or get out of the way, but it's hard to argue with the results. So I would not want to be in Sean Payton's wake right now on his bad list, because he was definitely, if he felt irritable in that post-game interview.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what all's on the list, because that gives you some insight into that stuff behind the scenes. If you know he was being even somewhat honest, maybe 14 might have been a bit of a hyperbole.
Just a number tossed out.
Just a number, but maybe there was some stuff off the field. Maybe there was, you know, the attitude in the locker room, or the attitude even on the sideline during the game. Maybe that wasn't, you know, that wasn't what he was looking for, what he wasn't wanting to see, even though it was a preseason game. And so I'm curious about that. And I'm curious about the issues that he had on the field, because I could probably think of about 70 issues on the field with the way how this team looked overall. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Sean Payton is one of those coaches also who kind of, he's not afraid to tell you what it is, but he does do so in a somewhat tactfully way. So when he comes out here and he said that there was 14 things that irked him that weren't on the field, kind of grabbed my attention a little bit. And really, I mean, you, as mentioned, is really thought about the attitude and the mentality on, or in the locker room and even on the sideline.
And he talked about it being their first like road trip, road test. So I think it's the operations from the beginning, like how things were laid out, just the smoothness. He needs everything to be to his demands, and multiple people didn't live up to it. So I'd be curious if anything comes out of that. We got Jake says, good morning, Broncos Country. Glad we got some things to work on. Going to be a fun season. Ernie Mays, go Ernie only. Great to see you. Brian Dunn in the house. Good morning. Everybody's names are different here. YouTube must have done something to change it. And Jake says, anyone know what this XP thing is all about? I'm not sure. Experience points. That's news to me. If that's going on with the members chat, or somebody, maybe Dylan knows. I don't know. Is Rayako If I butchered that, I'm sorry. He says, don't panic over 3 drives. Denver Broncos for life. Absolutely correct. Chase says, talk us off the ledge. Pearl Heater saying good morning. Dave also saying, we're just shaking off the rust. I'm expecting improvement next game. Even if they don't necessarily improve next game, I think that they played poorly enough, especially the first team starters, that they're going to be re-energized in practice, and coaches are going to be on their butts with everything. So I think that, as far as I know, Eric, I'm still trying to catch up on everything, but I don't recall any serious injury reports from the Broncos or guys, popping up, carted off, anything like that in my rewatch of the game. So that's the big thing for me still. I know that they're shaking off the rust, but if you're going to have any point where your first team offense kind of has, after having a good week of joint practice, seemingly winning the matchup there against the 49ers, I think that's probably better than in the actual preseason game, honestly, to be better there. But this should shake things up there. You think you're good? The NFL's tough, man. If you think you're good for a second, they're going to chew you up and spit you out. So I think Sean Payton, he's irritated, but he's got the ability to push the right buttons from a lackluster first team performance. I saw somebody also mention, Eric, the upset about the offense early on. I mean, that sack, the safety for Bo Nix, I was just, what are you doing, buddy? I can't have that. But really for me, it was the defense, the first team defense giving up a touchdown when that's supposed to be the identity of the team. They just first drive. I mean, Kyle Shanahan does that, but you guys think you're great? It's the NFL, baby. You better bring it.
Yeah, there's a lot to be, I guess, disappointed in with how this first team looked, but as said, shaking off the rust, still, getting back into that football game routine and mentality as well. That can take a little bit of time, and that goes to shaking off the rust. And it just seemed like a lot of guys out there were, rusty. They were still, just getting back into the groove of things. So while preseason 2 is a better indicator because you've already had that one game, you're already kind of back into the groove. You had that opportunity to shake off that rust. It still comes down to the regular season, and that first game, even the second game, you still might see a little bit of shakiness from the offense as they're still kind of piecing things together. But you shouldn't see too much of it because this offense is largely returned from last year. And I'm a little bit surprised that one of the guys who looked the best on that first team offense was Evan Ingram, the big new piece in the starting offense. He didn't have that wasn't showing that rust, which you typically see most commonly from guys who are new to the team. And the defense, Dre Greenlaw didn't play, but Talanoa Hufanga didn't look quite like himself out there. Got caught out of position a few times. Riley Moss did as well, leading to that touchdown that they had, as well as Jaquan McMillan getting beat. So a lot of issues with the defense as well. That's supposed to be the strength of this team. I'm more concerned over how they looked than I am with the offense.
With that said, Bo Nix, year 2, I know he's got a little bit of, in Sean Payton's quote, some Ferris Bueller in him, which to me, kind of march to your own drum from time to time. That was too much Ferris Bueller going on there. So that's something, if you're going to make a mistake like that, let it be in preseason. But that was if that happened in a regular season game, I would be pretty ticked off because you can't have it. Coach Chris coming in, $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Coach. August is here, football's in swing, and we got super chats coming in here from our member, Coach Chris. Gaining experience points. Dylan says the more you engage in the chat and with us, you get XP. So, all right, double bonus weekend coming up. It's football time. We got the Cardinals too, so perfect. Double XP. It's preseason, time to kick the dust off. Missed you guys. Missed you too, Coach. Appreciate you coming in. Jake says it does get hot and dry in Denver. Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to be putting lotion on my skin and lip balm and all that stuff. It's going to be a time. Troy coming in, also one of our just always continuously supportive super chat members. Appreciate Troy. It's always a highlight every year for me at the meet and greet to see Troy as well as, and his son when he brings him. So good to see you, Troy. Appreciate you. And he says, not too worried about the offense in general, but worried about the offensive line, as you both predicted, even though they were very good last year. Did injuries cover up problems last season? I think that's true for a lot of teams. Same as getting to the Super Bowl, right? It's not always who's the best team. It's who's the healthiest and hottest at the right time. And Denver not having a lot of injuries across the offensive line. They lost 3 or 4 games for Wattenberg, 3 or 4 games for McGlinchey, and kept afloat with that. Still a good offensive line. we've been talking a lot about the defense and the possibility of them. What's the word I'm looking for? Regressing a little bit this season, even though they added talent, just the sacks total last season and stuff like that. Maybe there'd be some noise and they'd regress a bit, but I feel like we haven't given as much credence to a possible offensive line regression as well. It's something I was thinking about the other day. I mean, I guess it's anything can happen, right? They're one of the older offensive lines in football as well. That could be a problem. And they also have not really invested premium capital in the depth of that unit. They've paid premium for the starters, but after that, it's been the bargain bin shopping across the depth. So I will say Nick Gargiulo, hopefully I had it right. You always correct me. I do appreciate you when you do that. He had a pretty good game, I thought, overall. Maybe he's somebody we're looking for, a young depth interior player to step up, and he had a pretty good one. I'd love to see a little bit more center reps from him if that's in the cards, but a year or two for him, very possible. But yeah, no, offensive line, that's the heartbeat of the offense. And the team will go as far as they can unless you have a absolute, first ballot Hall of Fame weapon or a superstar quarterback. You're pretty much always only ever going to be as good as your offensive line. So hopefully they look better than they did against 49ers.
Yeah, one reason why I didn't really dive into it myself was because offensive line play is generally pretty stable, especially when you carry over the people. I mean, look at some of the elite lines that we've had over the last few years. They've been elite every single year. The Lions, the Eagles, among them, as two examples. So didn't really get into it with it, but it's always entirely possible. And adding to it is that Ben Powers hasn't been worth his contract yet. And I actually think that he's gotten worse every year since he's gotten Denver. He's always had that slight decline. Luke Wattenberg was a first-year starter. While he did well, could that have been kind of like a little bit of a fluke? Teams not knowing exactly how to beat him consistently just because of a lack of tape. Now they have that tape. And then, of course, the injuries. Denver's had really good luck staying healthy on the offensive line over the last few years. And so are they able to replicate that again? Because as we've talked about a lot, the depth here hasn't shown up. Now, Nick Gargiulo, he did have a good game. He actually was one of the best Broncos out there in my grading system that I have.
Wow.
And
good for him.
Another one was Matt Peart. He actually had a really good game as well. But the rest of the depth wasn't great. Clay Webb was probably was actually one of the worst Broncos out there. Absolutely awful of a showing from him. So no one else of the depth stepped up. So if an injury occurs, it's going to be concerning with this offensive line and how they're able to cover it.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely something we're watching going forward, but not worried. We have an hour to talk, football, and if we're talking about it, it seems like we're probably giving more credence to how much we are worried about it than what the reality is. I'm not worried at all, really. If it had been obviously better if they came out and just dominated them, but is it going to be copy paste for the regular season? No. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. We got Mr. Roush saying hit the like. Yeah, everybody, we got a lot of viewers in here. Click the thumbs up. We've earned it, I think. We got Clinton coming in, hearing people were complaining about the first preseason game. Yeah, I'm not super worried. Mr. Rocket, good to see you. James said the starters look rusty. Good showcase from the backups, especially on defense. Wide receiver room look good. No reason to panic. Yeah, I see the experience points comments in here as well. I did want to get into some of the positives of the game, though. Eric, I'm really happy that we didn't have this Jarrett Stidham performance a year ago because it could have been muddying the waters a bit and it could have dragged out things. And obviously we're happy where we are right now. At least I am with where the quarterback room is. But Jarrett Stidham, what a game. The Broncos, a lot of times I've said it on here, both Falcons and this show, there's probably no bigger gulf in talent between the starting quarterbacks and the backup quarterbacks, other than, of course, maybe offensive tackle. That's another one. But quarterback, you really feel it. And Stidham came in and looked pretty good. Now, again, preseason, I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but as far as this is year 3 with Sean Payton, and he's obviously has good arm talent, moves around a little better than you'd expect to. I think he led the team in rushing yards in this game, which is not something you want to say or hear, but is what it is. But he came in and looked really well. If there's a game where he's got to get you out of there because Bo Nix, has a shoulder injury or, has to keep you afloat for a couple games, I'm pretty confident Stidham can do that. Now, your ceiling's going to be lowered a tad, and we don't want that, but it's not one where, I always like to quote Tom Moore, former offensive coordinator for the Colts. And they're talking about, why does Peyton Manning get 99% of the reps? It's like, because if 18 goes down, we're effed, and we don't practice effed. I don't think the Broncos are fully screwed if Nix went down for, obviously we don't want that, but I feel very confident and happy with Stidham as the backup. I think he's a useful player beyond the field for the Broncos, and he looked really good, and I'm happy for him in that. I mean, he's probably one of those guys who's somewhere like the 30th to the 42nd best quarterback in football, and that's tough for him that the Broncos take a quarterback. He might have even had a chance to start last season if the cards played out differently, and who knows where we'd be at that point, but good backup, and he looked good in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the key, is that you just want to see that backup quarterback look like somebody who can go out there and not necessarily lead the team to a win, but help the team pull off a win. And hopefully the wording there makes sense to everybody. But you're not looking for a backup quarterback to lead the team to a win. And it's important to have, because injuries happen. It's very rare nowadays for a starting quarterback to start every single game just because of injuries. And so you want that guy for it. And Stidham finally looked like he could be a pretty decent or even good backup quarterback out there. And as you said, we've always known about his arm talent. He's shown that, even before he came to Denver, he's shown that he had the arm talent. It was just about more so being on time, being in rhythm, hitting the throws when they needed to be made. And he was showing improvements in that area, which was needed, as well as better recognition of what was happening in front of him to use those legs and get out when needed. Just looked a little bit more consistent, like he's finally, not necessarily finally putting everything together, but finally just being more comfortable for the Broncos, which it's weird to say for a guy who has as much experience as he does, who's, as entering year 3 with the Broncos. So it's interesting, but it's a good thing to have, as you said, just in case Bo Nix does get hurt, that you can have some confidence instead of going out there and not seeing the offense just completely fall apart.
Yeah, I'm very happy with him, happy for him as well. So shout out to Jarrett Stidham. Michael Ronquillo coming in here. Good morning, Nick and Eric on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Bo Broncos. And Michael, also another guy that I've been sleeping on just because of the youth and the upside, but he's got a chance, man. There's opportunity galore in this offense. But Trent Sherfield had a pretty good game for the Broncos. Stats-wise, he comes down with 3 receptions on 3 targets for 73 yards and a touchdown and a long of 36. He looks like a physical player out there. The Broncos, I mean, if he's your 5th, 6th guy, I'm pretty comfortable with him. He's going to be an active player. And maybe they found something, diamond in the rough there. Obviously, the Vikings have Jefferson, who is 1A or 1B wide receiver, and then they took Jordan Addison too, and they have Hawkinson. So there's not really like much target share to go around there, but those are some good players to learn under and be in a room with. So I feel like I need to be a little bit more open to the possibility that Sherfield has a little bit more of a role in the offense than I expected, especially with, Vele dealing with some injuries and being a different type of player than Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. So Trent Sherfield, shout out. He's been having a good camp preseason, and he's definitely one of the guys I'm ready to put in Sharpie for this roster.
Oh, he should be in Sharpie already for special teams play.
For sure. Yeah.
Darren Rizzi made that very clear. I don't know if you saw the Darren Rizzi when he was asked about Sherfield. He's like, this is a guy I've been wanting on my unit for years now. Anytime he's been available, I've gone after him, and finally I got him. And that made it clear that Sherfield's making this roster, but it was nice to see him do more on offense than I think anyone was expecting. For a guy with the amount of experience that he has in the NFL to come along and, show out like he did, which is something he hasn't really done before. Even in preseasons with other teams, he hasn't shown out quite like that as a receiving weapon. I definitely think that they have some packages for him, and not just as a blocker, because when going over his game to grade him, his route running was a lot better than I was expecting. And he has, I don't want to say he's fast, but he's got surprising speed to him to get that extra, hit that extra burst to separate and give him a little space to present himself as a target for it. And it was all great to see. And as you said, there's probably some role for him on offense with the way these receivers are looking, with the skill sets that these receivers have. They can probably find some way to use him. He's definitely going to be active. I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos have 6 receivers active just because of what the situation is with the receiver position on offense and just rotating those guys a little bit. But he's going to be a key special teams player, a key gunner, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more on him on offense than any of us were expecting from when, throughout the offseason after he was signed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Somebody else who I thought did a decent job, talking about some of these depth pieces here, but it was a little bit of a discussion leading up to the game. But running back 3, is it crazy to say that Tyler Bidet might be the leader in the that's crazy to say? You think
it's still McLaughlin?
Jaleel?
Yeah.
Is it McLaughlin or McLaughlin?
I don't know.
You always correct me, so I think it's McLaughlin. But okay, well, I've not been overly impressed with Jaleel, and I thought Bidet looked a little better out there. I was a little bit disappointed in RJ Harvey, kicking things out a little bit too much. He's the one who I'm really praying can provide a spark, and it felt a little bit, I don't know. It didn't feel like I wanted it to, but still, just one preseason game. We'll see what more can come from it. But I was hoping for a little bit more from Harvey than we got. But I think Bidet's got a chance, and maybe that's me being a hater on Jaleel. But I think Bidet might be a better runner of the football than Jaleel.
I would be very surprised if McLaughlin, however way it's said, is not running back 3. This coaching staff absolutely loves him. They love what he brings to him. He didn't get to show it off, but it was just, he was close on a couple times. He did have one big run that got called back because of a holding play. He is that slasher back that Sean Payton loves to have. He just fits that so well. And he's part of the reason why they're implementing more outside zone, along with RJ Harvey, of course, but he's part of the reason to it. So I'd be very surprised, just based off of also what's been going on in camp. I guess there's been, and in the meeting rooms as well, preseason games are a factor into order on the depth chart and everything, but it's not everything. Tyler Bidet, from what I understand, hasn't been the best in practice or in the meeting room, but he came out and he showed in the game. I think he's kind of separated himself as that 4th running back, and maybe he ends up having a role. He's been probably going to be active because he's been doing well on special teams in practice and camp. That's been where he's been looking the best. And so I think he can be active. And as for RJ Harvey bouncing things outside, I think that is not necessarily just from you. It's something that I've seen a lot. I've seen people just screaming about it on Twitter and things like that. RJ Harvey had 7 runs. 4 of them were designed outside the numbers. He had a crack toss, 2 stretches, and then an off tackle run. And the other 3, if you go back and watch them, I have a film piece up on all of them with all the clips of them. All 3 of them got blown up in the middle, and he was forced basically to cut outside. Otherwise, he was going to get tackled for a loss. And one of those runs ended up being his biggest run of the night for 11 yards. Which ironically, he actually cut it the wrong way. He cut it to the right side, which had 1 or 2 open defenders on it with not much space, whereas they cut it off to the left. He did have 1 open unblocked defender with a lot of space to make him miss, and possibly, had he done that, could have had a touchdown. Big touchdown run. So just one of those things with it is, at some point you have to just take what the defense gives you and just lower your shoulders and plow forward. But I'm not going to fault Harvey for bouncing those outside when on 2 of them there was an unblocked defender right in his path. Adam Trotman absolutely failed on 2 of those 3 runs. The other one, Quinn Miners, Luke Wattenberg, and Ben Powers all failed on the inside. So not going to blame him. And also you have the fact that NFL coaches and college coaches, when you have a fast back like RJ Harvey, they are taught that when things get muddy in the middle, bounce it outside, trust your speed to outrun defenders to the corner and make something happen. And that's what Harvey was doing.
Makes sense. I'll have to go back and watch those. And yeah, shout out to Eric's piece there there's always a story in each of those. And we don't get coaches film in preseason for that angle. So always good to watch that to get a better picture of the blocking. Nothing more beautiful than a well-designed run block. It's harder to do. It's one reason that pass game tends to be more explosive, because it does take every single person executing their block. And that's way too many. Winning every single matchup is hard to do, but when it does work, it is synchronized beauty. So we got Coach Chris coming in. The $20 super chat, man, coach coming in today, helping us a bunch. This is the second $20 super chat today. So really do appreciate you while also being a member of our YouTube page. It says Dobbins, Harvey, Jaleel, Bidet, Watson, Estime might be the odd man out. Your thoughts? I mean, you might even have to pick two there. I think Watson probably practice squad as well. So right now the question for me is, do they keep 3 or 4? What does the wide receiver numbers look like? And also you have to factor in Burton as one of these wide running backs. No, you think he's going to be a practice squad kind of like last
They're going to
season?
do they're going to do what they did with him last year. Practice
That
squad
makes
call
sense.
up for the first, and then when an injury happens or something happens, then they'll make that
And he's a
adjustment
killer.
into the season.
It makes sense. That makes sense. So we'll see. I still got my eyes on Bidet versus Jaleel. But that's other than that, yeah, it feels like that. Still feels like this running back room is probably the biggest question mark of this team going forward, just like what they can look like, because nothing really, has popped yet, but we got a season to find out. And other than pass protection, which Williams was pretty good at last season, feels, at worst it's similar to last season, which we don't really want, but with a little bit more upside with Harvey, of course. So we got a long way to go still. But I mean, gosh, Eric, is it crazy to say that we're looking ahead, and I already see some talk about offensive line round 1 next season? Would Sean Payton, with how much he loves running backs, maybe it's a running back round 1 next year, which I don't want. There's probably only one who's worth it, and that's Love out of Notre Dame, he's pretty freaking incredible. But I'm not about it. Just keep adding to the offensive, defensive lines. But we'll see. Right now, the room is a big question for this team still, just about how good they can be in conjunction with the scheme and the offensive line.
Yeah, and when it comes to building the roster, I think 4 running backs, and I think the 4, I don't want to say they're set right now, but I think there's a pretty clear pecking order. You have Dobbins and Harvey as your 1A, 1B, Jaleel as that number 3 back right now. Maybe Beatty's able to take it over. I doubt it. Either way, I don't see Jaleel off this roster. Guys, you don't give podium time to a guy who's fighting to make the roster, and Jaleel got podium time during the preseason, during training camp. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with Sean Payton, especially. I think the only one since his time in Denver who got podium time that didn't end up making the initial roster was Tim Patrick last year. And that was, a veteran expensive cut to make room for young guys, basically. So Jaleel is making it. And then I think Beatty, he's with the game that he had, even if he's had rough practices on offense, what he's done on special teams has been helping. And then the fact that he showed up in a game also helps. And Blake Watson, I think that's who they would like to keep around on special teams or on practice squad. I mean, and then estimate, that's anyone's guess. And of course, you can't rule out a Denver trading away one of these backs and getting something for it, as there are some teams out there who are having a lot of issues with their current running back room. And, maybe they showcase a guy enough. Maybe it's Blake Watson, who had actually a pretty good game. Maybe it's Tyler Bidet, who had a good year last year before he got hurt in that one game and couple carries and had a great preseason game. Maybe they're trying to showcase them a little bit and get something for them. There's a lot that goes into it. And preseason, it's not just about trying to make the roster with the team you're on, but making a roster elsewhere. And teams try to help that by showcasing certain players. So a lot's up into it, but yeah, it's an interesting one. I do think that the room is starting to take shape, though.
And Brandon comes in and says, do you guys have worries about the offensive line? Or would you say they weren't playing 100% because it's preseason? Not worries necessarily, but, just hoping that we get a little bit more coordination with the run game in tandem, and Bo Nix not putting the offensive line in a bad position, trying to make a play, running backwards, blah, 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 with the nickel blitz. So just things to work on. Am I worried about the offensive line? Worrying about the offensive line is more big picture team building than it is this season. So we'll see. And Jermaine says, chill, Nick. We just got Harvey with a second. Sean Payton loves to use running backs, and Dobbins is gone after this year. And after that, it's a bunch of, as you talked about it, 3rd, 4th string running backs. So we're keeping our eyes and ears out for that, but we got a long way to go right now. I'd bet on offensive line followed by interior defensive line. But that's just, me being me. I did want to talk a bit about the defense as well. I talked, we can circle back around to the offensive line here before we get on out of here. Not too long. I thought, again, Nick Benito, I know he scored really bad for PFF, but 4 pressures and 2-3 series, that one that he had, that one drive, that was unbelievable. I know it's backup offensive line, whatever, but God bless. It's really just unbelievable watching a speed rusher impact every single play. He could have told him. It's like when you have, again, the fastball pitcher. Fastball's coming down the pipe. Try to catch up, and they couldn't. So Benito really loved that. And also kind of a quiet two-pressure game, but I thought Jonah Ellis looked solid out there, kind of a little bit of a unsung option on this team, but third-round pick last season, year 2, really young player. Yeah, man, if he could take a step forward this season, that's just another wave and option for this team. So I thought Jonah Ellis, he's one I feel like we're not talking about enough just because there's so many fun pieces on defense, but plays edge, pretty high pick for this team. He could be a huge contributor, not just this season, but going forward. So he's one that I'm really banking on. Didn't want to say hello to Amy in here. Good morning to you, Amy. Appreciate you. Happy Monday. But those are, I did want to give a shout out to Benito. Of course, he was obvious, but Ellis as well.
Yeah, Benito had a great game. This is going to get me flack, but his sack wasn't overly impressive. You're trying to get caught by a pulling second string, third string tight end. Mm-hmm. And, Benito just has that speed to easily outrun that. And he did, and he made the play. However, his pressure, not the next play, but the play after that was a great one. He really challenged the tackle off the corner, and he took it and he just sustained it and was able to generate that pressure. And that was really impressive. It's kind of what we've come to expect out of him. He also got, blown up against the run a couple times in it, but hey, he's a pass rusher first and foremost. And, the run defense may never get to that point where it's more than just, a couple plays here and there in a game that he makes. And sometimes that's all you need for it. But it's definitely one. And I'm curious. I'm still waiting for whenever either side budgets to get this contract extension done. I know that Nick Benito's camp is now waiting it out. They're wanting to see what a couple other extensions happen. Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, they want to help raise that floor of what he can ask for. And I'm curious to see if Denver will budge as much, because from what I've gathered is they have a very hard set on what they're willing to pay him on a maximum. And that can lead to some very interesting discussions coming in at the beginning of the season. But Jonah Ellis, he was great. And it wasn't just as a pass rusher. He did really well as a run defender, much better setting the edge. He kind of did go untalked about a lot because he was dealing with that shoulder surgery that he had. He's been working back from that. I wasn't expecting him to play because of it. I thought they might have held him out, but he went out there. He did well. Q Robinson, he showed off that speed a few times. He's another one that has to improve as a run defender, but he showed up well. Savion Jones, more interior, but he also did quite well as a pass rusher. Run defender, don't line him up with Nick Benito, and because the other team can just run it. But the one who was most disappointing was Dondre Tillman. Mm-hmm. He was a really good run defender last year, and he was just crashing inside too hard, not staying disciplined to the outside lane. Just was getting manhandled by third string offensive linemen. Just didn't match what he was doing last year during the regular season with we were getting out of him. Could it be rust? Sure. Could it be a fact of just, not necessarily regression, but return to norm for him a little bit? Because, he's a guy that went undrafted and was in the UFL and all that. So maybe it was more of a return to norm for him, but it was very disappointing watching Tillman out there.
Bummer, but good to hear about Q from your perspective. This is one I wanted to shout out, but we got Coach Chris with another $20 super chat. Says, how many turnovers of big plays did we get called back because of penalties? That's something I'm sure Sean Payton's going to ream those guys out for. I also talked about Chris Abrams-Drain looked really well. He did look well. I'm a little bit, I'm not frustrated. That's the wrong word, but Riley Moss didn't have the best game, with Chris Abrams-Drain looking a little better. So I know that there's going to be some Twitterverse folks, screaming bench the white cornerback from Iowa for Chris Abrams-Drain. Abrams, I'm very happy to have him, depth. Riley's a bigger player, and I definitely think a more valuable player. And he was the talk of, one of the talk of joint practice and training camp so far is how good Riley Moss has looked, but not in the preseason game. And yet Abrams-Drain looked good. So happy for, did want to give Abrams-Drain a shout out. He had a good game. Jaquan McMillan kind of up and down, right? I know that he had the forced fumble and he made that play, but also kind of the fault of the one of the big touchdown leading plays as well. So valuable players, and we have depth in the secondary, and being 5 deep there. Barron quietly, solid game. I wish he was bigger. I mean, that's really an aesthetic thing, but I just like watch him like first round safety, cornerback, nickel. I wish he was a little bit sturdier looking for being as old as he is from a bigger program, but that's neither here nor there. I'm the white fan from Iowa. I just know that fans, I think pile on him because of the he's an outlier there. But it's a fun story. But I wish Moss had a better game. But yeah, shout out to Chris Abrams-Draine. He had a good game.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who, even in camp practices and joint practice, he's been looking really good. Chris Abrams-Draine has. I'm not sure he's, pushing for a starting job just yet, but maybe he's showing a little bit more faith where, after this year, maybe he can push for it. Quan McMillan, he kind of had a game that we've come used to, right? He gives up a big play or two and also makes a big play or two for the defense. Kind of balances it all out. Riley Moss wasn't great. On the touchdown run, he just got busted too far inside instead of keeping contained on the outside. You were able to tell that he was at fault as a couple of defenders went over to him and had some words, it looked like. And so just some issues there. He had some other issues as well, but that was the one that really stood out. So overall, the corner room looked good. Jahdae Barron looked really good working downhill. He came down and blew up a catch almost as soon as it was made at or near the line of scrimmage. So curious to see about that continuing forward and seeing how he can do covering downfield because he didn't get a whole lot of opportunities of being that downfield cover guy. Just that one big play coming downhill. And again, that looked great. In the secondary overall, the depth, it's a very clear, whenever you're trying to build a 53-man roster, you look for the clear cutting off points. And you definitely have those top 5 corners, and then you have everybody else. And it's not even close.
Yeah. It's too bad about Mathis, just because, athletic and has some special teams ability with that. But he definitely feels like the odd man out. Maybe, again, we're just talking about flipping late picks, but, send him in a 2028 7th for a 2028 6th. Like that's marginal value, but that adds up over time. As we saw last year, the Broncos, they traded a 6th-round pick and they traded down and got an extra pick for moving those. So, man, we got a long one from Leroy here. Good morning, priests. We're no priests here. We're the Druids. Good to see Riley Moss had a game. Looked like he was scared to tackle. First touchdown for 49ers. Moss should have made that tackle and backed off. I'm sorry, I don't have the fact. He doesn't have the it factor anymore. Can't have scared players on defense. I don't know if he's scared, but I mean, he's looked really good in camp so far. So honestly, that's one of the reasons that I'm more pro Moss than Chris Abrams-Draine. I don't know if Abrams-Draine has the size and physicality for tackling. I think there's a reason that he's purely boundary and not playing the slot. I don't know if he can scrape on the inside and has that physical profile, but I digress. Did want to get into a little bit more here, Eric, and just wrap it up. Bo Nix, pretty bad stat line. I mean, we'll just call it as it is. 6 for 11, 31 yards, 2.8 yards per attempt average. That is poor as it can get. That's a cover your eyes number as far as you're not only not completing the ball, but it's behind the line of scrimmage. Again, was it a good showing from Bo Nix and the first team offense in the 3 drives that they had or whatever? No. And if it was a year ago when we had this Bo Nix versus Jarrett Stidham one, Broncos Country would be melting down on Twitter. So I'm really happy that we are at this point, and we know this is Bo Nix's team. I don't know if you saw ESPN did like a future power rankings, and Seth Walder did a too early prediction saying that Bo Nix would not be the starter come 2027, and some stats that are concerning for Bo Nix long term. I'm betting on Sean Payton's belief in him. I don't know about him being a top 3-4 quarterback. I want to see more this season, but Payton would know more than me. And no offense to Seth Walder, but probably more than Seth as well. But I'm not worried. Would I be happy if he went 11 for 11 and 2 touchdown drives? Yes. Plenty to work on. Stayed healthy. Stuff to get redialed in on, and those coaches are going to be on those guys, and they're going to be on themselves too. I think Bo is probably as hard on himself as anybody. So I am not worried, but I am, getting a little closer to the TV screen, watching with a little bit more scrupulous eye.
Yeah, my thing with the prediction is you're 3 seasons away from that. right? You have 2025, 2026, and then in 2027, Seth Walder predicts that he loses his starting job, and that's his final season with the Broncos. So you're basically saying that Bo Nix is going to play out basically his rookie year or rookie contract with the Broncos, and then the Broncos are going to move on. I don't know about you, Nick, but there is too much going on in life right now for me to care about what happens in 2027 at the moment. So we'll get there when we get there, and we'll see if the prediction happens. But hey, good on Seth Walder for making that prediction now. If he ends up being right, good for him. But it's too early for me. But as for Bo Nix now, is my biggest concern with how he looked was that even when the pocket was clean, he looked antsy. He didn't look super settled. And then his placement was consistently off. Fortunately, he got bailed a couple times. Troy Franklin bailed him out on a pretty good catch to move the sticks a little bit. And so he missed some throws. He missed some open guys very late to dump it off to, I believe, J.K. Dobbins or R.J. Harvey. I can't remember which back it was. And ended up very limiting what they were able to do after the catch, because by the time he dumped it off to him, the defender was right there.
Yep.
So it was just a really off showing from Bo Nix. But as you said, I trust in Sean Payton. I trust in him. I trust even in Davis Webb to sit down, put in the work, and look at how things were and go in and correct them.
Yeah, honestly, maybe this is, and shout out to Quentin joining and becoming a YouTube member here. Appreciate you doing that over on YouTube. Joining our guy, String Guy said, good point. Zach talking about Peyton not calling plays in the preseason. Sutton dropped a good ball. It's the reality of preseason football in a small sample size. One play can change things. So he didn't get hurt, and there are definitely things on the limited sample size of tape to work on. Could he have looked better? Yes. Is this going to matter at all? I don't think so. So I'm not worried. Leading off the show, do I feel fulfilled having watched it? And, oh my gosh, this maybe could be a top 5 offense this year. I don't feel that way right now, but probably shouldn't have felt that way regardless of the results. So we'll see what it looks like once the real reps start happening here. And I'll say it every time: stay healthy. They walked away unscathed. It did look like Benito maybe got dinged up. I haven't heard anything more.
He did have a little bit of a limp, but he seemed fine. He got hurt on, I believe, the sack or the second play, and then was out there on the next one.
Yeah.
But he seemed fine. He was walking with a little limp on the sideline, but nothing more than that.
Charlie Horse, that's all it is. Jason Bonney come in as well with a new member. Awesome. You guys are killing it today. And Mr. Rocket says, not going to lie, Bo Nix deserves criticism for some of his throws. Tired of Bo Nix Glazers acting as if he's perfect because he isn't. He's human, and he's a year 2 quarterback, and there's going to be ups and downs. So, and I think Eric and I are as far away from Glazers of any player as it can be. We've been called haters many times. I think I'm just a little bit more pump the brakes and let it play. I grew up in an area where you get to watch corn grow for fun, and Eric grows up where it's winter 10 months a year. So, we're bitter. We're bitter men, but not better men, bitter men. But there's going to be plenty to criticize, and we will criticize him. Maybe too much, maybe too little. I don't know. You guys be the judge of that, but we'll tell you what we see. Not a good game from Bo. Small sample. Okay. Preseason football. Does it even matter? I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I thought about him before is the same now, other than I'm slightly disappointed in that safety. That was just there's a bunch of immature kind of mistakes, and you got to be better. The one thing they keep talking about Bo Nix is, avoiding the negative plays. And that was just a bunch of bad all at once. If there's any time to try to get away with it, it's preseason, but yikes, man. Just don't do that.
You want to know who Nix looked like on that safety play?
Drew Lock?
Russell Wilson. With that classic spin off the left tackle to make the free defender miss and then make something. It looked like he was trying to imitate Russell Wilson on it. That was the first thing that I thought when I came to it. I get what he was trying to do. I see a lot of people criticizing for Troy Franklin being open in the middle. I don't think he had the time. I think he would have been hit as he threw, and that was dangerous. So he was trying to make something happen to buy himself more time. So I get what he was doing. I just think it was terribly executed.
Yeah. Learning opportunity For sure. Well, we appreciate everyone. We're going to get on out of here. Michael Ronquillos wrapping us up. Said, great show today. Nick and Eric on Broncos for breakfast. You guys killed it today. Click the thumbs up on the way. And we got almost as many super chats as we got likes. That's, I mean, I'll take the super chats. Don't get me wrong, but click the thumbs up, the hearts. We appreciate that. Also, a bunch of new members today in our community, which is awesome. Coach Chris coming in 3 times. Oh my gosh. I missed this one. I don't think we got this one, Eric.
Nope,
good morning, guys. What did you guys think about the rookies? I thought they played well. Well, Diego, I really apologize. I'm going to blame this on Dylan. Dylan, what are you doing out there? I know you've got the beautiful hair, but that doesn't excuse missing. No, it's okay. I don't know how I missed this one. Diego, thank you so much. And hope you're doing well. And we're going to take the time, obviously, to get to you here for the 1999. Dylan, I'm just teasing too. You're a beautiful man. I love you. What did you think about the rookies? We talked about Harvey. Eric kind of put me in my place on that one just because there's a story on everyone, and I only watched the game once, but I didn't. Again, second and third string, I was hoping to feel a little bit more electricity, and I didn't, and that's very non-analytical way to view it, but I just didn't feel him on the field, and for a running back where I'm just begging for some explosiveness from the offense. One, if you like you mentioned that one, he could have kicked it to the left instead of the right. Maybe we do feel it, but small sample, didn't truly feel it. So a little bit meh about that one. Barron, fine. Again, I aesthetically, I wish he was a little bigger, but he, physical player coming downhill. Other than that, I can't really think of anybody standing up. Pat Bryant, okay. Very small sample size. I hope that hope we can get a little bit more plays down the field for him coming up here at some point. But really, I mean, my takeaway is that the rookies, they're fillers on this team right now. And, hopefully Harvey's a good player for them. But really, it's more about these year 2 and year 3 guys taking steps forward and developing, because we talked about Gargiulo, Troy Franklin. I don't think we mentioned his name yet. Some big plays in this game. Frank Crum, I thought, actually wasn't as concerning as he looked last season. I thought, at least in some plays. So, you might disagree. I don't know. Last season was rough with some of the pass pro.
Dude was 20 yards downfield in the end zone on a screenplay.
Yeah, you know what? He wants to be a part of the action. That's okay. He's a hard one to miss, though. That's maybe a little better from that. But yeah, overall, rookies, I was hoping to feel a little bit more from Harvey, I guess, is the big one.
Yeah, and I get it. It's like, I'll defend him for bouncing it outside, but there were still issues with it for a guy who, had such good vision in college. Didn't quite see that. There were times where he's a fast and bursty back, and there were times where he didn't, show it as well as he could have. I guess that would be the best way to put it. But the other ones, I think that Pat Bryant obviously had a really, really bad and obvious holding call on a big Jaleel run that got that called back, but he plays faster than the 4.6. I tried telling everybody that during the draft show when they were upset about it. He plays faster than that, and he showed it. Had some big catches, had a pretty decent run after the catch. Didn't pick up a whole lot, but he caught the ball, caught it quickly and cleanly, and then turned it upfield. Shade Barron, didn't see a large sample size from him overall. Did well what he did. Key Robinson, mentioned him quickly that he had that speed. Still has a lot of work to do as a run defender. So does Savion Jones. Caleb Lohner, barely saw him, barely noticed him. And then the punter wasn't a great game for the punter. Hopefully it was just, first game kind of jitter kind of stuff, as we've talked about with a lot of other people. And hopefully he finds some balance. But yeah, it's about the second year guys. And most of the second year guys looked rather good out there in this game. And last year we were talking about it. Second year for those guys was when we were looking at them making a bigger impact. Well, they're showing that this year might be that year they finally start having that impact that we kind of thought they would.
Yeah, we'll have a chance maybe to talk a little bit more about that on Wednesday as well. But obviously we want to cover the that class. But I mean, really outside of Audric Estime, I mean, every single one of those guys from that 2024 class looking pretty darn good. I mean, Bonex, whatever. We already sample size last season, but Jonah Ellis, depth player, but with Tillman not looking as good, really could emerge as that third guy, and maybe even push, for reps, not starting spots, but reps from Cooper and Benito. He's also Troy Franklin looks like he's taken a big step forward, and it's filling a niche that this team desperately needs from explosiveness from the wide receiver position. We'll see about Bailey, but 7th-round pick last season. The Chris Abrams drain we already talked about, and then Nick Gargiulo, really good game. So good job by the team you're drafting. But once you get outside the top 75, anything you get from those guys, year one is gravy. It's really about year 2 and year 3, and looking good right now. Also looking good. We need to get out of here. Dennis coming in, becoming a member. You guys are killing it today with that. I'm really appreciating flashing all this green on the screen. But Eric and I got to get out of here. I got to get on dad duty. Make sure you guys are following us. Yeah, become a member, as that said there. Somebody changed the tiles on here, so I got to figure out my navigation on here. Make sure you're following Eric and I. Eric is at Erick Trickel. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Over on Twitter, of course. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. We're at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. I don't even see that one on there anymore. We're really pushing the YouTube side of things. So make sure you guys do that. Liking, subscribing, and sharing over on YouTube. Become a member like we talked about. A lot of fun stuff. Appreciate everybody. Eric, hopefully you can get some rest. So it's okay. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow night. And Eric and I'll see you guys again on Wednesday, hopefully with only good news. Who knows? We got the joint practice with the Cardinals now, right? We're just like flopping one to the other.
I don't remember the order of things.
Okay. Well, day by day, man. That's all you can do. So appreciate everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Happy Monday. Choose kindness and compassion. Get outside. Go Broncos.